Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Invin. Today I am going to be bringing you guys a quick update on what has happened to Warzone in the May 7th update, which is the day of recording today. This update has just dropped according to Raven Software on Twitter, so it may well be that you need to update your game once you get on, and there have been a few changes to the game. Now, one of the things which is the major changes is the weapon tuning they've put in. So the AMAX has technically been nerfed, same with the FARA and the Streetsweeper. The Bullfrog has been changed. They don't necessarily call it a nerf here, but I'll explain that to you guys as we go through the video as well. And the PPSH has had somewhat of a buff, so I'm going to explain those to you guys, plus the rest of the patch notes that we've received in this update, just so that you guys know exactly now what is going on within Warzone, as there has been a few changes. Now, what I'll do is put a screenshot on screen now for you guys of what the weapons section says, but essentially Raven have said that there are millions of guns, and when we reduce the effectiveness of a weapon, we are bound to change someone's favourite weapon, and they're going to basically explain that they're taking a lot more time to now fine-tune these weapons and make ways of balancing them rather than just nerfing them into the ground, which is a really, really good start, and something on last time I talked about patch notes with Warzone, I said I really hope they do. So it seems like they are listening to community feedback. JGod said a very similar thing, and a lot of the stuff he mentioned in his video at the start of Season 3, and similar to the one I did as well, there's a lot of that stuff now they're actually kind of working around, which is really, really good, because generally what I did with that video is get like the community consensus on what we hoped would happen and what I personally hoped would happen, and that seems like to be what is going on. Now, basically what they've done is they've basically balance the weapons out in what they feel to be fit at the moment, and we ask that you consider these changes are not as targeted attacks, but as rather part of a larger initiative to raise the skill ceiling. So essentially what they're trying to do is make some guns harder to use but still have a very, very good time to kill, and some guns just need to have a little bit damage taken off, a little bit fire speed taken off, whatever it is. But we'll jump into that now. If you guys aren't subscribed, make sure you do subscribe with notification bells on so that you don't miss out on any of these videos, as we cover absolutely everything to do with Warzone, multiplayer, and Cold War in general at the moment. And obviously like the video if you do go to enjoy and find it useful. So without further ado, the CR AMAX has had its minimum damage decreased from 32 to 31 in Warzone only. Now, this isn't a huge amount, but it does mean that it's going to take an extra shot to kill when you're at longer ranges. Now, what they've put in this, again, is I'll put a link to the patch notes in the description of this video. There's quite a lot of patch notes in this. Essentially, what this change does is reduces its fastest minimum TTK by about 17%. In addition to the slowest minimum damage TTK by an additional shot. Its fastest maximum damage TTK, however, remains inactive, which is a risk that Raven Software felt is equal to the rewarding, considering how unforgiving the rate of fire is on many other weapons. So essentially what they've done is made the CR AMX kill slightly slower at closer ranges, but that longer range kill slightly faster, again because you've got the SMGs that are really good up close. So this one's going to be that mid to long range gun. So they've changed it a little bit of damage decrease, but not all that much, and something that you don't really need to worry about. It is still far and away going to be one of the best weapons in Warzone, but it has had a slight damage decrease. So if you're noticing a few extra shots to kill, especially if you're going to try challenge those SMGs up close, that is where it's come from. The FARA 83, this is something which we all expected would get a nerf, but it hasn't quite had the nerf that we thought it would. So what's happened here is the headshot multiplier has been decreased from a 1.5 to a 1.35, and the base ADS move speed has been decreased by 7%. So essentially making the gun slower and making headshots do less damage, overall increasing the TTK. Now, when combined with the mobility stock, the FARA 83 is capable of reaching exceedingly fast ADS speeds. We know this, and we like how the FARA 83 plays, but it's a little too versatile. As part of the current efforts, overall time to kill, we are reducing the FARA's fastest TTK by 16.6% to compensate for its generous rate of fire and recoil. So essentially now when you're hitting those headshots or body shots, it's going to be a very similar TTK. One headshot is still obviously going to give you that faster TTK, but it's now going to be a more concise, probably 6 to 7 shot kill at very close distances, then pushing up to the 8, 9 and 10 shot kills as we go further out, and that is probably going to then obviously fall off after around 75 to 100 meters if you've got the close range build, and 100 plus for the long range builds. It seems like a decent nerf because you've still got that mobility, that movement, which is really, really good. And they're actually saying they like the way that plays, which is, again, something I said. I think it's a nice, different variation. And each of the weapons acts slightly differently. That's cool. And they have agreed with that, essentially, and said they're going to keep it playing as it is currently, but just change the damage output slightly, which is fine. The other major thing that has changed is the Streetsweeper, which has had a base hip spread increase, a recoil slightly increased, and the ADS speed slightly reduced. Now, Obviously, this was something which was very, very good at the beginning, and later in the patch notes, which I will go over, they have now reduced the drop rate of it from chests and stuff. There's only the gold variation, so you will no longer get the grey and the green common drops all the time on the floor for the Streetsweeper, which should be nicer for the start of games. Now, as well as this, you have got changes to the Bullfrog, which is the maximum damage decrease from 34 to 32, so similar to the AMAX there. Maximum damage range increased by 11%, which is pretty decent actually for an SMG, so bear that in mind. Base movement speed increased by 1% and a sprint out speed increased by 13%. So basically, this gun has been kind of buffed but kind of nerfed. They've changed the damage, but they've increased some other factors. So obviously that 34 to 32 is going to give it an extra shot to kill at most ranges, if not all ranges, I think. But what they have said is the Bullfrog's exceptional headshot multiplier has allowed it to reach one of the fastest TTKs in the game. While this change does not directly affect that multiplier, it does diminish its output. This change reduces the Bullfrog's ability to consistently achieve extreme TTKs while not removing it entirely. We felt that it was too easy to consistently reduce the TTK to these ranges, so we are asking for a bit more accuracy in exchange for the Bullfrog's attractive stat line. We are hesitant to label this an outright nerf, as we believe it to be more value to the weapon than its damage alone. So essentially what they've done is made body shots not quite as good, so it's not as viable in every situation. You're going to be better with that LC10, maybe the MAC 10, maybe even the FARA close range build. It's going to be closer and going to get those kills just as quickly in those close range situations. But if you are able to hit those headshots, you're going to see those insane TTKs, which is what we were using the gun for in the first place, and that is going to be staying true to the form, and we are going to still see this continued throughout, which is really, really cool, and actually something which I actually really like from Treyarch and Raven here. Raven have done a super good job of looking at this and just seeing what people are actually playing like. Now, another thing they've done in the SMG category is change the PPSH. The maximum damage range has been increased by 4%, and the open bolt delay has been decreased by 80%. And what they've said with this one is we would like to push SMGs into a different and interesting directions to distinguish them from one another. Ideally, we are providing a myriad of options for each weapon category that are supplementary to a multitude of diverse playstyles. In that vein, we are going to push the PPSH 41's identity in a way that continues to diversify it from its competition in meaningful ways. To us, the PPSH 41 is the quick-to-fire, high-capacity, short-to-mid-range SMG. Not every weapon needs to have the highest TTK potential, but every weapon should feel at least viable and have a niche where it excels, given the complementary playstyle. So basically, what this means is that the PPSH has had a buff to its close-range potential. It doesn't have that much increase to its damage, but it has a slightly better range, but it is going to be that faster-firing, really high-mobility gun, so it could be more viable now, and we will test this out in the coming days, and I'll let you guys know if it's any better and whether you should be using that one or not. So we'll see what happens there. So overall, with the gun tuning, weapon tuning, AMAX still really, really good. Bullfrog still really, really good. PPSH is a potentially good weapon now. Shotguns, you're going to see a ton less on the Streetsweeper, thank goodness. And the FARA 83 is still very, very good, although it's had a slight nerf to the damage headshot multiplier. It's now more in line with the rest of the weapons and still has the stupidly high movement, which is what the real advantage of it was. If you are a skilled player, you're able to maneuver about, so that's still going to be extremely viable and definitely the current meta. So they're not changing the meta too much with this update, which is quite nice. Now, obviously, with the introduction of the Carver as well, we've seen that gun come in, and I'm going to make a best class setup for Warzone for that gun in the coming couple of days, and it is actually really, really decent. It's a 1-to-2 burst down, which is really nice, so that might slip into this meta quite nicely with some of the weapons that we've already seen here, but will it compete with the AMAX? I don't think so. So this is going to be interesting to see how this works out going forward. Now, another thing they've done is change some of the attachments. Basically, what they've done is change the combat recon barrels on snipers to have a bullet velocity multiplier increase by 12% and an ADS idle sway, multiplier decreased by 32%. So more accurate snipers and higher bullet velocity. Really good. Really helpful, and it's going to see Cold War snipers perform a lot better, so that Kar 98 we could be seeing a ton better with, as well as we could be seeing the LW3 come through a lot more now, so this could be really, really interesting. Optics, the axial 3x scope on the Cold War AK-47 has had its behavior improved, so it was making a visual glitch where the recoil wasn't appearing as much as it actually is. Now they've changed that, so it should be a better, more accurate representation, which is nice. We also have the stocks changes, so the Raider and KGB skeletal stock for assault rifles, LMGs, shotguns and snipers has had an ADS fire multiplier decrease by 75% and an ADS move speed multiplier decrease by 10%. We've then seen the Raider and KGB skeletal for SMGs with ADS firing speed multiplier decrease by 50 and ADS move speed multiplier decrease by 10. The SAS combat and the Spetsnaz stock for ARs, LMGs, shotguns and snipers the same as the first one, and the SAS combat and Spetsnaz for SMGs the same as the second one there respectively. And then tactical stock for the assault rifles, LMGs, shotguns and snipers has seen an ADS move speed multiplier decrease by 75%. Tactical stock on SMGs has seen a ADS move speed multiplier decrease of 50%. So overall what we've seen here is a huge speed multiplier decrease on both firing speed and movement speed while ADS'd. So this is going to combat a ton of the mobility, and that is going to impact on the FARA. So whilst it's still going to be highest in its class because they've reduced everything, or the majority of what the attachments were regularly used in Warzone, it's still going to be well and above that. So it is going to compete at pretty much a similar level because it's across the board nerf to those attachments. What you are going to see is a more diverse approach to attachments now, and you can probably build that in a different way, which is going to allow you to be a lot quicker with that. So keep tuned to the channel for that as well, because if we do get an updated class, I will be sure to update you guys on that one. So there's been a ton of interesting things in this update. I think they are listening to the community by not nerfing things into the ground, but they're just balancing things out a little bit more while still giving the opportunity for those better players with better aim, you know, and kind of more of a fine-tuned sense of gameplay to still excel with these weapons, which is what I really like, because it's giving the actually skilled players a ton more ability to do well, but it's also giving general players like myself and some of you guys watching us the ability to use a different variety of weapons while still maintaining what is currently meta, but also having a little bit more option and keeping those meta weapons in line so that you can use a few different ones at the same time, which is a really nice place for Warzone to be in, and quite an exciting time for content creation and Warzone in general. Hopefully this video has kept you guys up to date with all of the latest stuff. That is going to be it for today. If you are new to the channel and would like to find your way back, we're going to be covering absolutely everything to do with Warzone and multiplayer, so make sure you stay tuned with notification bells on, press the red subscribe button down below, and make sure you do drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed and found the video useful, as I really would appreciate that. And help me reach 1.5k subs, guys, please. If you are here at the end of this video, I would much appreciate that. So thank you very much for watching, take care, and peace.